up, guys? Movie Junkie for Life back at it again. I know this one is a bit late, unfortunately and sadly. I had a family member pass away last week, and that's why this post is so late. So, of course, family comes first, and I had to put everything else aside. That said, I'm back at it, and I want to talk to you guys about a movie that had a lot of potential but just wasted it. Fantasy Island. Directed by Jeff Wadlow and starring Michael Pena, Maggie Q, Lucy Hale, and Michael Rooker, Fantasy Island is an adaptation of a 70s television show of the same name. It tells the story of people who would go to this mystical, magical island to have all their wildest dreams come true. Of course, this is supposed to be a horror movie, so when they get on this island, their fantasies are twisted and things go really, really wrong. Now, guys, I'm like most of you, you're probably familiar, you might be familiar depending on your age, with this original television show. Granted, I've never seen this show, but I do know what this show is. I know what it's about. I've seen it, I've seen excerpts and stuff like that of it. So when I heard they were making this into a horror movie, I thought, why not? Because this is how I think you should approach remakes. You should pick something that people maybe general public and not too familiar with, not too nostalgic about, and you can take, this is a concept I think that you could take and make into a solid horror movie. Unfortunately, what Jeff Wadlow and Blumhouse does here is just waste every possible moment, everything they could have done with this. They just threw it away. So let's get into, of course, the pros, because it's not all bad. Visually, this movie looks good. I love the island. I like the location. I'm not sure where it is. I didn't really check to see where they shot this movie, but it's a beautiful island. The estate and all of that is really gorgeously shot, and everything looks good. And acting wise, I think the actors are doing the best that they can with what they have. So I'm not blaming the actors for the mess that this movie is. I really don't. With the exception of, we'll leave Michael Pena aside, surprisingly. I'm gonna leave him for the con section. But I think all of the actors are really trying with what they have here. They're at least trying to give you some type of character development, something to latch on to. Story-wise, this movie is a mess. I'm getting into the negatives. As you see, there's not much positive to say here. First of all, story-wise, this movie is way too bloated. Granted, the television show, I think they would have like maybe 2 or 3 couples or 2 or 3 people land on the island, and each of them would have a fantasy, and of course that would be fulfilled by the end of the show. Here, it's about 5 different people, and because it's so many, it's just too many subplots, which causes the editing to be really weird. You'll be following one person and what's going on with them. They'll try to build some type of suspense and some type of tension there, and then it'll just cut abruptly to the next person. So you're no longer invested in what's happening with that person, because now you're with these people. Because it's so many of these subplots, you can't really get attached to any person or what their story is, what their drama is. So you don't care what happens to them. So I think if they had maybe cut this down to maybe 2 or 3 people, they would have done much better. It's too much. I was bored, and I kept thinking, oh my goodness, this is still going. And I really try. It's, for me, I'm a little bit OCD, and I could never just walk out of a movie no matter how bad it is. And yet I was this close to calling it quits on this movie. Just too much fat and not enough meat on this film. We also have Michael Pena here. Now, he's normally always a solid addition to a movie or a television show. He's a fun guy, and he's usually very charismatic, and you connect with him. Here, you have a character. First of all, the character he's playing is Ricardo Montalban, with all his swagger, and most of us know him as Khan from Star Trek. You know, he has so much swagger, so much presence, so much style and charisma. There's none of that in Pena's version of this character. I think the character's name is Rock or Roach or something. Sorry, I can't remember his name. But it's just nothing. He seems like he is bored out of his mind. I don't even know why he signed up for this movie, because honestly, it's a little bit insulting that for you to be in a role and you don't give the audience anything to work with. If this is what you're gonna do, I feel like you should just let somebody else fulfill the role. Honestly, I think Keith David would have been fantastic in this role. That man has so much swagger and so much charisma. Anybody else could have given us much more to work with. He's just there and he's just boring. And that's another thing. This movie is boring. The CG in this film is just ugh. Maybe if they had gone practical, they could have gotten another half point or point for the horror aspect of this. But the horror stuff is not horrific, it's laughable. There's so many tropes, so many cliches with it, the jump scares and the, oh, look over here, and oh, okay, this door has a mirror on it, so obviously when I open the door and I close the door, somebody's gonna be behind me. That kind of nonsense. It's just generic baby horror steps, baby horror stuff, you know, that kind of thing. I've seen scarier horror movies from 80s horrors for kids than was in this movie. And then it brings me also to one of the things, the ending of this movie. Of course, you know, they throw in their so-called twist, and honestly, if you're paying attention, you're gonna see it coming. And we have the reveal of Tattoo. I wouldn't spoil it. I wouldn't spoil it. Maybe some of you want to see it. It was such a weak, stupid, insulting version of this character. Honestly, I saw it coming again. Like I said, I saw it coming a mile away, and it just felt like, again, why not put somebody else in that role? Why that guy? You know, why that stereotype? That sort of thing. It was. I actually said who it was. Now, I didn't spoil it for anybody. The cinema, it didn't have that many people in cinema when I went to see it. And when they, in the end of the movie, when he's like, oh, so, you know, what's your name? I said it before he said, and people turned around and looked at me like they were, like, oh, how did she know? How you mean, how do I know that? It's just so obvious. Nothing about this movie was suspenseful or thrilling. It was such a waste. I would have loved to see a horror version of Fantasy Island. I honestly think it could have worked if they had put more into it. This just felt to me like you got a hold of an IP and you made a movie just to be able to hold on to that IP. And maybe 5 years down the road, you'll make another or you'll make something else. This was disappointing. And I think I'm being too easy when I score these films. I would usually give this kind of movie a 5 out of 10 because I'm like, you know what? It's harmless, it's basic, it's something you can watch while you do something else. I'm gonna be tougher in 2020. I'm giving Fantasy Island a 3.5 out of 10 because I'm sick and tired of studios doing this to us. This movie had potential and I hate to see wasted potential. So Fantasy Island gets a 3.5 out of 10 because I don't feel like they even tried. And that's going to be it for this review, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to hit that like button. It's really appreciated. If you guys would like to, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on my face right over there, and of course you can check out past videos right along there. Until next time, guys, bye bye.